Have you ever sat down, mapped out a whole content plan, felt genuinely excited about it, and then watch it quietly fall apart within a few weeks? It's not that you don't have the discipline or the motivation to keep it going, because I know you do. I think that you've simply been given the wrong way to design your plan. Because when a plan isn't designed with you or your business in mind, it's never ever going to stick. In this episode, you'll understand exactly why your content plans keep collapsing, how to break that cycle, and more importantly, you'll have a new way of thinking about planning that actually fits your life, your energy, and your business. Hello, beautiful people, and welcome to this week's episode of the Content with Heart podcast. Thank you so much for joining me this week. It's lovely to have you here. Now, in a few weeks, I'll be helping the members of the Content Effect create their 90-day content plan. So I thought it'd be really helpful to talk about content plans today and why we can get so excited about them or methodically go through all the steps to create this amazing plan, but never be able to implement them or just let them quietly fizzle out. So sometimes there's a genuine reason why things go haywire. Maybe something's happening in your life, but mostly it's because of four different reasons. First one is that you're planning without a purpose or an intention. The second one is over ambition. So you're trying to plan for a future perfect version of you. The third thing is ignoring your energy. And the last one is looking at it as a rigid system instead of something that's quite flexible. But I'm going to give you a way to circumvent all of these today simply by using the power of compassion. Because I feel like every time a content plan falls apart, something else goes with it. It might be your confidence, it might be momentum, it might be just simply the trust that you have in yourself and your abilities. And when that happens, you start to believe that you're not consistent or you're not disciplined enough, or worse still, a failure because you can't make it happen. When the real issue is that you were likely trying to follow a plan that was never designed for you in the first place. So there's also a business reality here that inconsistent content means inconsistent visibility, which means inconsistent connection with the people who need what you offer. It's something that kind of quietly can bubble away in the background and impacts your growth, impacts your reach and your revenue over time. But the answer is simply, and it always is simply this, be more you. But let's talk about why these plans fail first. The first one is about planning without the purpose. So when you plan content without knowing why you're actually creating it, the plan has no anchor. It has no real core. It has no real soul. Most content plans are created based upon the output. How many posts are you going to do? How many platforms? How many times a week? But the output without intention is just doing for the sake of doing. And that's why I always start with intention or objectives when we're doing our 90-day content planning inside the Content Effect. The thought is, what are you trying to achieve with your content? And what's that big picture for the upcoming quarter? Once you know those things, it can really start to drive and create that anchor that you need in order for it to have meaning and purpose for you. So when you actually sit down to do the plan, the first question usually is something like, what will I post? Or what is my social media going to look like? So instead of that, it should be, what's the message that I'm trying to convey right now for my audience and for my business? And that then becomes the driver for your content plan. Because when you have the purpose, you have that connection, and this really gives your plan that staying power that you need. And it's the difference between content that feels like a chore to actually create and content that feels like a conversation you actually want to be having with the people who need to hear it. Now, the second reason that I think that a lot of plans fail, and this is no fault of our own, but it's overambition. We plan for the most energized, most available, most motivated selves, and then wonder why it falls apart. There's something about a blank calendar that can make us believe that we can do more than we actually really can, because a fresh start seems like permission to go big, to do everything. But when we do that, we slant towards becoming overambitious. And overambitious plans don't fail because you're lazy. They don't fail because you don't have the motivation. They fail because they were never sustainable in the first place, not for the life that you're actually living. And the antidote here is not to lower your standards, right? It's not about, you know, being lazy, doing the absolute minimum that you possibly can. It's really about being honest about your capacity. One piece of content that's created consistently will always, 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 always outperform like 10 pieces that have been planned and never made, right? And it's why I always encourage my clients to dial it down before they dial it up. Do the bare minimum that you possibly can, that you think is achievable. And once that's achievable, once you can prove to yourself that you can do it, then you can do more and add to it. So have a think about what your content plan could look like if you designed it for your hardest week, not your best one. So cutting back and doing the bare minimum and dialing it down isn't a sign of weakness or laziness. It's really giving yourself an opportunity to gain rhythm and confidence and momentum, which is going to lead to sustainable consistency, which is what we all want for our content. Now, the third reason I think that content plans can fail is ignoring your energy. Oh, this is a really tough one. You can have the right content and the wrong energy, and it really shows. So I feel like energy is a really practical piece of your content creation. The content you create when you're feeling, I don't know, like stretched or drained or distracted comes across really differently to the content you create where you're really clear and really grounded. And I guarantee that your audience feels that difference, even if they can't name it straight away. And I'm sure that you can think of a time where you've read something or gone to watch something and just clicked away because it didn't feel right. There was something off, and that something off was the energy. When we think about content plans, most of them are built around a time, like when will I post, but not around an energy of, when am I actually in a state to create something that I really love and that will really connect with my audience. So your content rhythm and the way that you create your plan and build your plan should account for those natural ebbs and flows of energy because, some weeks can be for creating, some are for connecting, some are just for showing up simply and easily, and some, quite frankly, are for hibernating, and that is okay as long as you build your plan around that flexibility of adjusting for when your energy isn't feeling quite right. So if you think about in your week or perhaps in your month, or what it is that helps you create that feeling, that flow of when you feel most clear and energized and most like yourself, then that's your creation window. And I really want to encourage you to protect that as much as you can. Now, the last reason I think that a lot of content plans fail is that they're seen as like this rigid system. So a plan is actually meant to support you. And the moment that it starts controlling you, it's working against you, not for you. So I'm a planner, content creator archetype. So I love a list. I love a process. I love a system. I love a plan. However, even more for me, rigid systems can create this specific kind of failure. I miss one day, I miss 1 week, I fall behind, and the whole plan then feels broken. So I can end up feeling like I want to abandon it entirely. Hands up if you feel me. And this is the all or nothing trap. And it's built into most content planning approaches, really. And it's very common for the free spirit archetype to feel like this. And they're the most susceptible to throwing in the towel when they feel like a plan isn't working, when they feel like they've put the effort and the time into creating a plan, but they're not actually sticking to it, which, is crazy because the free spirit archetype creates best when they are in the flow. And if you haven't done the Content Creator Archetype Quiz yet, go on head on down to the show notes, click the link and find out what yours is in under 3 minutes. So the best content systems, I think, have a really strong foundation, but kind of loose edges, right? That's why I love teaching the 90-day content planning method. You know your non-negotiables, the content that keeps your plan visible and your message clear, and everything else has room to move. And you would not believe the number of times that I move things around in my business. Like I create a whole year's worth of ideas for my podcast, but it doesn't always stay that way. It's absolutely fluid. And that's the important part, to keep it flexible and not put the pressure on yourself to make it absolutely perfect all the time. And now we know the four main reasons why might have blocks to planning or that they fail. How can we actually make sure that our content plans are doable and sustainable? Now, the most effective content plan isn't the most detailed one. Can you believe it? The best content plan is the one you're actually going to follow and you're actually going to come back to. And the key here is something that you are so good at doing as a heart-led entrepreneur. And you are so good at giving it to other people, but not so much yourself. And that is compassion. Planning with compassion means designing a rhythm that really accounts for you as a whole person, because we can't, as much as we try, we can't separate the business us to the personal us. So you need to really think about your capacity, your creativity, your business goals, and your season of life right now. It's not about doing less for the sake of ease. It's about doing the right things in the right way and at the right place and right time for you and only you. So a compassionate plan starts with your why, basically, the purpose that keeps you returning to content even when it feels hard. So it's a clear, felt sense of who you're creating for and what you want them to walk away with. It really takes into consideration your energy, not just the calendar, not just the days of the week. You can build around your real rhythms, your creative peaks, your quieter weeks, your busy seasons, rather than pretending every week will look exactly the same, because we all know that's not the truth. Your compassionate plan has a clear anchor, and we've already spoke about this. It really is the non-negotiable that keeps you visible. And then you have like this generous space around it for everything else. So my clear anchor, my non-negotiable is my podcast episode. Now, having said that, if you are a regular listener, you would have noticed that last week I did not release a podcast episode. And you know what? The world didn't end. It was just something really big going on in my life last week, over the last couple of weeks. And my energy honestly wasn't there. And I wasn't going to create for the sake of creating just to get a podcast episode out. So like even the best of planners, the planner archetypes, don't always stick to things rigidly. And as a result of this, I made sure that I gave myself compassion and I didn't beat myself up just because I missed one podcast episode. Now, a compassionate content plan also is something that is reviewed constantly. It's not set in stone. It's a living document. You check in with it, you adjust it, you treat it like an ongoing conversation with yourself, not something that you're bound to and you must do. And it's really about understanding who you are. A compassionate plan is knowing how you like to create and your season of life and accepting it. Now, I'd love to know if you are showing yourself compassion when you're creating your content plan, or whether you're creating this rigid document that is viewed as being inflexible and you feel like you're failing when you're not following it. To help you think about whether you are creating compassionate plans, I have some reflection questions for you. You can take a moment now to think about your answers, or go ahead and journal on them if you feel like you want to explore them even more deeply. The first question is, are you planning for the version of yourself who has everything together, or the version who's navigating a real full life? Number 2 is, what does your energy actually look like across a typical week? And is your current content approach working with that or against it? And what's the one piece of content your audience truly needs to hear from you right now? And are you making space for that or filling it with everything else first. Some questions for you to ponder. Now, before you can design a content plan that actually works, you need to understand how you naturally create, because the way you show up, the way you think, the way you communicate, it's all part of the content creation picture. And the Content Creator Archetype Quiz is going to help you identify your unique style and give you some real insight into the content approach that's most likely to feel sustainable for you. It just takes a few minutes. And what you learn about yourself will shape the way you think about content from this point forward. I guarantee you, because the goal isn't to fit yourself into someone else's system, it's to find yours, your unique system that's perfect for you. So the link is in the show notes. Go and take it and let me know your archetype, because you know what? I don't think I've been wrong yet. Now, content plans don't fall apart because you're not disciplined enough or smart enough or motivated enough. We've already talked about that. They fall apart because they weren't designed for you in the first place, your energy, your capacity, your real life. So when you start planning with purpose instead of the pressure, when you build in flexibility instead of being totally rigid, and when you bring a little more compassion to the way that you approach content, everything starts to feel more possible. With heart, always.